All right. Let's hope this works. It's going to record this screen. Hold on. Perfect. Who did? Oh, finally. He actually called you. Very good. All right, so this class is on short sales. Why would we go after short sales when foreclosures are back to where they were before the crash? Why would they be important, do you think?
What, short sales?
Yes, short sales.
So when the market turns down,
the market will turn down. We still have a lot of people that are behind. A lot of people are going through foreclosure, and a lot of them are filing Chapter 13s. The success rate of a Chapter 13 with a lot of these people that are behind is only about 20%. So there's an 80% chance they're going to sell their property anyway. So knowing that, you have to keep following up. So we're going to help them do the Chapter 13. We'll help them get the loan modification, knowing that as we fill the pipeline, it'll start to pay off down the road. The key is with a short sale is, okay, how do I compete in a market where the banks don't want to negotiate on price? Because they don't have to. We're in a seller's market. That's what I want to show you tonight. So I want to give you a background on what short sales are. And then towards the end, I want to show you what I did to a bid in order to create something that dropped the price enough to where we could buy it. All right, so basics. So a short sale occurs when a lender agrees to accept a lower amount than the homeowner actually owes on the home. You guys know that, right? That's why it's called a short. In order to cut their losses and avoid a costly foreclosure procedure. Generally speaking, foreclosures cost a bank or a servicing company an average of $50,000. $50,000. A foreclosure and all of its processes between everybody involved will cost a lender or the investor behind the lender $50,000. So that's why sometimes they go, oh, we'd just rather go this route. And one thing you have to understand, and it might cover this tonight, is the bank in charge of a short sale or is the homeowner? Derek, what do you think? No. The homeowner is still on title, and they still are able to sell their house. The only difference is the bank will have to agree to the terms. Okay. This is usually done when a homeowner is in difficult financial circumstances and knows more than the current value of the house. So what they've done is they've taken a lot of money out, and the house hasn't creeped up in value enough, or it's dropped, and so they owe more than they can sell it for. A lot of times you'll see, for example, the shorts or the house that Will Hayworth is working on, the offer's at $610,000. Okay, he's going to make maybe $1,000 to $2,000 at that purchase price. So if we try to drop that price, he's going to have to or be forced to short sale. What happens to your credit report when you do a short sale, do you think? Yeah. It's not terrible. It's not what hurts when you are going through foreclosure or pre-foreclosure types of things. It's when you're not making your monthly mortgage payments. The short sale will come and go. Now, it'll prevent you from buying something in the future for a while. Okay? And it's much better than an actual foreclosure.
Is that 2 years?
It's generally 2, yeah. FHA. You guys know what an REO stands for? Real estate owned, bank owned. All right, so property goes to auction. They don't pay they can't. So kind of here's the process. People get behind, and then they try to make a portion of the payment, and the bank goes, oh, we won't take a portion of the payment. You got to bank all of it. So if they're $20,000 behind and they want to pay $10 back, the bank won't allow it. You got to pay the whole thing to get out of foreclosure. That's how that works. So if they constantly fall behind and they can't find someone to give them private money or to bail them out, the house goes to the trust deed sale in California, right, which goes to auction. A lot of times the reserve is too high, and then it goes to what's called back to the Benny, which is back to the beneficiary, which is the bank. The bank then hires a broker that's aligned with them to sell it for them on their behalf as an REO. what happens then is we'll go over it. So REOs are often referred to as bank-owned or foreclosures. We see a lot of these on Zillow right now. Look on Zillow, you see auction.com all over the place on the low-end prices. BPO. Let me ask some of the new people that aren't realtors. Let's see. Alejandro, yes, you look down right away. What's a BPO, Alejandro? Not a clue. What about you, George? Close? Broker's price opinion. Write that down if you're taking notes. Broker's price opinion. They don't do an appraisal. They do a BPO. And they usually only pay about $35 to the person doing it, and it's actually a lot of work. But a lot of these realtor or brokers will do this so that they can get fed REOs. So that's how they break in. I'll do these BPOs to get in, and then I'll learn what I need to do to actually get fed these properties. So broker price opinion. And it's the most common way that lenders and servicers actually create value or determine the value on a property. Yes? Very different. It's similar in paperwork, but the person behind it many times isn't going inside the property. They're not measuring the property. They don't know what's illegal and what's legal, right? So they're not really given a true comparison. And what I notice with BPO is a lot of times they're not taking condition into account. So they'll put fixed up properties that are renovated in their BPO with the property that's completely run down. The property that we're going to look at, it was Monroe, which is in Carson, was actually the BPO came in ridiculous, and I found out they were bringing in properties that were already fixed up to a property that was a complete fixer. That's not fair, so you have to appeal it. Or you do some sneaky stuff we're going to talk about in a little while. All right? All right. Distressed property. You guys all know what a distressed property is. Guess what do you think a distressed property would be? What would be your definition if you were just to think off the top of your head? Needs work? Perfect. All right. Distressed. Can the homeowner be distressed too? Most of them are. Most of them are falling apart. They're having health issues. I went to a house today in Cerritos with one of our newest students, and it's a realtor that just came over under a license from Keller Williams. And she had a listing I felt like she was possibly going to lose, maybe, because we're kind of getting to the end. It had been on the market quite a while, and it's not selling. Well, it has nothing to do with the realtor. It has everything to do with the condition of the property. But the lady was so stressed that she had an ulcer and had to have surgery because of the situation. Because she's house rich, cash poor. She has no money to go, and you could tell she was wearing leather pants. 76 years old, man. I could have sworn she was 55. And she goes, yeah, I'm from the Philippines. I think they lost my birth certificate. So who knows how old she is. All right. So a property that is in foreclosure proceedings or where the homeowner is in default would be considered, according to the banks, as a distressed property. In foreclosure. They're behind how many months to get into foreclosure? Generally 90 days before an NOD is filed. Theoretically, you could be in foreclosure after 30 days, after missing one payment, depending on who your lender is and depending on where you live in the country.
Or if you have a hard money lender.
Hard money lender will come right after you, right away. Hopefully you haven't found that out the hard way. All right. Everybody needs to know who an asset manager is. If you can find one, make them your friend. Use this as leverage. This is how we are getting our lists of these properties. Comes from asset managers that are sneaking these things basically out to people like us.
Before they hit the MLS.
So these generally are going to be, some are on the MLS. So we have two relationships. One, we can get 3 days before it goes to auction. And this list, some of them are on the market. We just happen to know what the reserve price is.
You know the lady I was telling you about who has the foreclosure website? I mentioned her. I'm gonna try to bring her to the next overview. But
Okay.
She runs a site that gets all the foreclosure info. It's called Retran, and there's a part
Mm-hmm.
and it shows you what happened to all the properties that went to auction. Like, was it an REO or did it sell? Can you use that list instead of relying on an asset manager in order to follow
The
it?
list that she has?
The list on the site, you can put it based on address, I mean zip code, and then it'll show you all the trustees that were what happened to the properties that went on trustee sale for that day.
Yeah, we used to track those. So some would go back to the beneficiary, some were sold, some go put on hold because people are getting them postponed. What's that?
Yeah.
Could you use that list?
Instead of relying on an asset manager, maybe use data.
Well, asset manager has inside info. They already know what the property will sell for. They know what the reserve price is. That's their job. So that's what you want. Their job is to get rid of these properties some way, somehow, for the highest amount of money possible. All right? So I'm not sure on that list. I know Property Radar has, if you pay the $59.95, I think you can get that. I never have because I've never been a real auction buyer because you can't get inside. I really want to be inside. I don't want to get stuck with something that I didn't see. I'm a little more risk adverse at this point. All right, an asset manager is an individual who manages the assets, tangible or intangible, for a bank or financial institution. Asset managers may be responsible for disposal of a lender's assets. So who better to get in contact with? Somebody that's an asset manager, as well as the maintaining of the property, ordering BPOs, trash outs, changing locks. That's their responsibility. Hence, asset manager. Let's see what that says. Asset managers do not necessarily work for banks, but are often separate companies that work only in asset management. I think that needs to be in. We need to fix that. All right. You guys know what a deed in lieu of foreclosure is? Deed in lieu. I know you've been in that class. Yes.
Just hand over the house so that they don't get foreclosed on.
Right.
I can't pay it here. They can take the house.
Right. So don't foreclose on me. Here's the deed, or here's the keys, basically. I would rather do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. I don't want any rights to this. I'll sign my rights over so that you don't have to pay all the money, and I don't want a foreclosure on my record. It still hurts you on a credit report, but it's a lot less than actually going through a full foreclosure. Deed in lieu. A lot of people don't even know that's an option, so they'll let their house go to foreclosure. It's much better. It's a much better circumstance to do the deed in lieu. It is the process in which the borrower agrees to deed the property back to their lender in order to avoid the inevitable foreclosure and forced seizure of the property. Okay. All right. And most of them require that there's a listing so that you're at least trying to sell it before they would accept a deed in lieu. That's something to remember, because when you're sitting in front of that homeowner, you need to know that. Your bank's not going to accept you just giving them back the keys until it's been listed for 90 days. Who do we want to list it? You, if you're a realtor, or us, right? We want to list the property. Get something rather than nothing if it's going to go. You know, a lot of people go, well, oh, it went back to the bank. What can we do now? You got to wait for it to become an REO, and then it goes to the general public. Then you're competing with everybody. You always want to try to beat them. All right. Remember, deed in lieu, usually one loan. So if people have 2, 3 loans, that could hurt you. Everybody has to agree to the terms because those people are involved. They're lien holders. Okay, negotiator, processor. So when we have our short sale negotiator, that's when they work for us. But a negotiator is a generic term used to describe someone from the lender's loss mitigation department or short sale department who processes, negotiates, and works with short sale files. So there's a negotiator processor. We can have our own, the bank can have theirs, and then they argue it out. And our job with our negotiators for that person to know the laws to use to our advantage, because most lenders, they don't have a paralegal that's their negotiator. They have a person that's been trained. That doesn't mean they know all the laws. And one of the things we have to keep in mind is now that really protects our homeowners is the Homeowner Bill of Rights, or they call it HARBOR. Okay, see, but that's something for us to understand. You cannot be foreclosing on someone at the same time there's a loan modification and review. The guy that you talked to that was trying to loan mod his property for 2 years. That doesn't make any sense. Why would it take 2 years to get a loan mod? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't go under review for 2 years. So something isn't right. And a lot of times these homeowners will tell you that that's the case. That's not true. Or an attorney is having them make payments to them. So we want to get in and really explain how this should work, and that a loan mod shouldn't take more than a month or two. And you weren't on the phone. I had someone else on the phone with Lisa today. You'll be next. And that's our paralegal that does a short sale negotiation. She also does our loan modifications. Remember, we failed. She got one done in 3 weeks. On a house, there's no house. Tells you how good she is. It's not livable. A loan modification, if you read the paperwork, it says the house must be habitable. Well, this house doesn't even exist, so it's not habitable, and they still gave us a loan mod. That's how good she is.
Is it just land?
Well, this is the marble house where you just have something holding up the one wall. Yeah?
Whoa.
Yeah. So we got that loan mod so that we drop the payment down and makes everything better because she couldn't, this is going on way too long.
Are you flipping out?
We're doing a price lift on it. Promissory note. You guys should know what this is. Your investors will need this when you're raising capital. But there's also a promissory note that you fill out when you buy a house. It's called a note. A note is issued by a lender which asks the borrower to prepay at a certain percentage of the deficiency after the short sale is completed. You guys realize that, right? There can be a deficiency. That went away for quite a while. Anybody know if it still exists? What's that?
I think there can be a deficiency.
Most banks won't go after you for a deficiency, but they have the ability to if they choose to. The same way a credit card can go after you if you settle for less than owed, they can come after you for the deficiency. They can definitely 1099 you, and most lenders will at least do that. You'll get a 1099 as if you made, so let's say you settle $50,000 below what you owe. They can send you a 1099 as if you made $50,000 that year. That's on top of your income. That puts you in a much higher tax bracket.
Like a credit card charge-off.
Yeah.
But it seems like, can that defeat the whole purpose of a short sale, though? Because if they do that with a house, you got to pay it back.
You just pay
So
tax.
it's like, what's the point if you're still going to have to?
Well, it depends, but you can negotiate it. Obviously, that's where you would hire somebody to do that. But they did it, during the crash, this all went away. There was rules to protect them, from coming after people for deficiency. But the bank agrees to it, but there's an investor behind this that still owed money. So just because you sold it for less to get out from under the bill, the monthly payments, you still owe somebody $50,000.
Right.
And that's the problem, is people think, well, I don't have to pay that back. No, you owe it. You promised to pay it. Now you're not having to make the monthly payments because you did a short sale. The reality is you still owe that money, just like any debt. The only way out of that would be bankruptcy. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 wipes out all debts. Right. Yes. Chapter 7, it's usually wiped. Anything unsecured, right? It does not save your house. It doesn't save anything that's a secured asset. So you just have to know that credit cards things like that can get wiped. Can school loans get wiped? How about medical expenses?
Nope. No.
A lot of people would go get an operation, just file bankruptcy.
Good luck.
That's a good question for the bankruptcy attorney when he comes in. You're going to want to ask that. I don't believe you can get out from under medical expenses.
Even if you could, you could take real good care of
Student
yourself.
loans,
after
same
that
thing.
surgery.
Can't get out of student loans.
Right, can't get out of student loans. So a lot of people will do a cash out on a credit card, pay off their school loan, and then default on the credit card.
That's smart.
Refinance the house at some point, pay off the school loans, then they lose the house. That's how you got out from under it. So there's ways around the system. Can't believe I just told you guys that.
This is education.
Okay. All right. A promissory note is an unsecured note, meaning that it is not attached to any kind of property in this case, right? Okay. But we need to understand a promissory note is a promise to pay at an interest rate agreed upon through that note and a timeline. Here's one. What if someone has a bunch of money in the bank and they're trying to short sale? Again, we have to throw out everything that happened during the crash. Now we're in new times. Can a bank ask you to pay a large cash contribution if you got it sitting in you? Because remember, they're going to see, when you do a short sale packet, they see your bank statements, right? They know. They see your tax returns. They know how much money you have, unless you got it in the backyard buried somewhere. So a lump sum dollar amount that a lender will sometimes request in order to approve a short sale. Well, if you bring in $15,000, we'll agree to the short sale. Now, it's unheard of. We don't hear this a lot lately, or during these times, but it's coming back. This is how the old rules applied. Right? Cash reserves. So why would we agree to a short sale when you have the money to pay back the mortgage in the first place? So bring us some of that money, and we'll agree to it. You still have to have a reason to short sale. You guys know what that's called?
Hardship letter.
Hardship letter. You got to have a hardship letter. You got to have a reason that the bank says, okay, we'll let you short sale it. Because if you have plenty of money or plenty of money to make the mortgage payment, why would they agree to it? They want their money. They want you to finish your promise. Okay, mortgage insurance company. If a loan has mortgage insurance, the mortgage insurance company must agree to the short sale. So if you're paying MIP or PMI, they have to agree to it.
What's the difference?
One's FHA or FHA and one's conventional. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I can't remember which. I think PMI is FHA and MIP is conventional. I just know they're the same thing. Is that what it is? Okay. I'm testing the teacher. All right. How about the deficiency balance? We kind of talked about that. Difference between the proceeds from the sale that the lender will receive and the actual amount owed to a lender after all closing costs. And then you want to see the numbers on this. So here's an example. They owe $400, but they sell for $300. How much of a deficiency right there? $100. And then there's another $8,000 in closing costs. Then the deficiency would only be $92. Okay? Could they come after you for the $92? Yes. Yeah. What if you short sale an investment property? The bank might want to come after you more for that than they even would a primary. So think about it. What's the reason why? You guys understand the interest rates on non-owner occupied properties are higher than your primary? Because there's a greater chance that you're going to default on an investment property versus the roof over your own head. That's why they cost more. That's why they expect more money down. You can get away with 3.5%, sometimes less, on a primary. You can't do that on an investment property. They want you to put 20% down. Or if you're sneaky like this guy, he does all cash and does a delayed refi. At least, so what are you really going to be in? You're going to be at 120. So I'd want to know what percentage. I think you're probably in at 15%. No, less. If you leave $15,000 down, you're probably going to be at probably 12%. You have to do the math on that.
Yeah.
So just do 120 divided by, or 15,000 divided by 120,000.
Is
12.5%. So he's only putting 12.5% down on an investment property that would require the average person to put 20 or 25. Not bad. What's that? You got it. Go ahead.
only the septic got fixed faster.
Yeah, once you have a septic tank, I've never dealt with that. I've only dealt with it. My grandparents had them, and I remember there were issues. My parents have one now. That's what happens when you,
Last also decades.
Yeah.
Issues.
as long as they're serviced. Nasty to think about, though. It's in your backyard. You got it, Alejandro, or you still need more time? You got it? Hardship. a term used to define the events leading to a change in the borrower's financial situation, which caused the problem in the first place. That's the hardship. What constitutes a hardship? Loss of job, loss of income, health. What if you just get lazy? Some of these people will retire on a fixed income and let their house go and then claim a hardship. Does that pass? I'm on Social Security now. I decide I don't want to make my high mortgage payment. I decided to retire, and I want the bank to work with me on it. They should loan mod. Sometimes it works. Should it? No. Because you knew what your obligation was. You chose to retire, and you knew you were only going to get this fixed income. So you probably should have thought about that. And I think,
Can't work.
unless you can't, I've seen people that are 62 try to do this, and the bank will just foreclose. Things like job loss, loss of income, divorce. A divorce would count as a hardship. Lender approved. When you see on the MLS, bless you, when you see on the MLS lender approved short sale, now you know that that price that they've listed at is accepted, and you can actually get the property for that. A lot of times we'll see a short sale that's not lender approved with some really low price. Doesn't make any sense. It's just to get a bunch of interest in the property. Doesn't do anybody any good. You got to get the lender to accept the terms. That's why it's lender approved. Lender has agreed. So you need to know that when you're sitting down with a client and they say, hey, can you short sell my house? I only have a little bit of time before, this thing's going to go to auction. Can't you just put it really cheap so someone buys it so I don't get foreclosed on? No. Lender must approve it. If they have more than one loan, that makes it complicated. If they have mortgage insurance, the mortgage insurance company has to agree to it. This is very important. Must be an arm's length transaction. Tell me what that means before the words come up. It's very important. You must know this.
You can't benefit. They can't benefit from the short sale.
Right. Because what do people try to do?
Get their son to buy the home.
Yep. And lease it back to them or whatnot, all kinds of things. You'll see people try to get away with this.
On that, we can do that with Nora up in Anaheim. So we can do that. And I was a little bit forceful, not forceful, but try to be there. But when I saw the sign that she just wasn't opening up.
Yep.
Call me.
Yeah, because she wanted her daughter. That's something that they were trying to do. You don't want to be a part of something like that. You can go to jail for those types of things. You don't want to do that. It's not worth the money, guys. It's not. A good one, Lynn and Leo had a property where a guy brought us in, and he goes, here's the plan. I want you to short sell my property, and I want you to flip it. I want the $10,000 the bank's going to give me for relocation fees, and then I want you to give me $50,000 once you sell it for profit. Remember I told you about this? Because people will do this all the time. It's all the stuff under the table. I walked out of that meeting and said, you know what? Somebody will. It's just not me. Because I don't want to have to look and talk to my children behind bars. Too many of the people in the past that you worked with, and you saw some of that stuff in the loan modifications type of thing that was going on, people were filing fake BKs often. They were doing all these things to postpone foreclosures. Those people, a lot of them are behind bars. They were doing it illegally. So you have to, everything we do, especially in California, has to be ethical and moral. If you're not and you get caught, you're going to go spend some time next to Bubba. All right. Term used to describe a transaction between multiple unrelated parties acting in their own best interest. Highlight multiple unrelated parties. Unrelated. Let's see if we have a laser here. Oh yeah. That's the key. They cannot be related. Can they be friends? Hard to prove that they're not relatives. As long as they're not relatives, you're probably okay. Okay, again, this is to ensure the property is not sold to a relative or to make sure that there are no other side dealings or arrangements. Do you think that there are side dealings and people get away with it?
Yes.
All the time. And you're going to be tempted. It is tempting. It's tempting to say, I'll tell you what, let me list your property and short sale it, and I'll give you an extra $5,000 out of my commission. And if you're a realtor, that's the only way you'll get that deal sometimes. Well, what do I get out of it? That's a moral and ethical challenge, and hopefully you get away with it. But if you ever get somebody that all of a sudden finds out, and the deputy inspector from the BRE comes calling and says, I'd like you to give a deposition on why this person's saying that they collected $5,000 from you. They got audited on their taxes and said that income came from you, the realtor. You're looking at prison time. Yeah. Because I guarantee you, somebody's going to press charges on that. Many times a lender will request an arm's length affidavit to be signed and notarized by all parties. A lot of the banks are doing that. You have to notarize, right, this letter saying we are not related. You're promising that you're not related. So if you do the side dealings, that's what they bring to court. You even got a letter, an affidavit notarized saying that you weren't related. If you saw, guys, during this whole debacle of the banking system, all the side business that I saw and had to compete with, that I never participated in, for me to risk my broker's license for a few $1,000s, knowing that I had the ability to make a lot more in flipping, you just don't need to do that. Next, David, you saw it. Guy's trying to sell a house that's not his.
Yeah.
We could have bought that house, and we'd have been in a lot of trouble right now. Because we'd have a house without clear title. We wouldn't be able to insure it. We couldn't sell it. We'd be stuck with it. It'd be a nice rental property.
It was his parents' house, and they died before they transferred title to him. So, no, he's got to go probate.
It's got to go probate, and that could take a year to year and a half.
Or what we did with Tom, right? But he would have to do that before conservative.
He would have had to have done that before.
Before he died.
Even then, why would he need a conservatorship? Mom and dad, if they're alive, would just sell the property on their own. What's one thing that these people need in order to avoid probate? They all need a trust. We are incorporating that into our business model. We'll have one for $600 and one for $1,200. Each of those should carry some type of kickback. That means you kick it there, you get a little something back. What's that? Two separate.
One will do it for 6, one will do it for 12.
Yeah, the 12 is probably better. The 600 is a lot more work on our part. Okay? And everybody needs one. Only 30% of homeowners have living trusts. That means 2/3 are going to probate. The only way to avoid it is if they add a child to title, and that will it succeeds to the child. And that can create a whole bunch of other issues with beneficiaries. When we sat with the attorney yesterday, he is the only son, the only relative, aside from his dead brother's son, who's now his nephew. And that attorney goes, when your mom dies, the nephew gets half. Even though you're helping your mom out, you're in charge, that nephew's entitled to half that money. Yeah. So he can't take all that money and just run with it. The nephew's entitled.
The nephew?
Because he's the brother's son. Goes right down the line.
Do you want me to share a good story?
Yeah, go ahead.
This actually happened back in 99 before the real estate. Ex-wife's grandparents owned 3 blocks, or actually 3 properties in East Whittier at the time, plus 5 acres of Lake Elsinore. They died without a living trust. After everything was assessed, I think the ballot, and again, this is before the real estate boom, over 1.5 billion. 1.5 million. Okay. There were 11 kids, 2 which died, that had 3 kids each. So you see what that convoluted mess was. It went for close to 5 years before they had to sell the property. They sold the East Whittier property to the developer, who then partitioned all the properties out, built 3 more properties on top of that, sold it for $225 each, bought the entire property for $175. Basically, they ended up selling 4 properties.
Oof.
And then
Yeah.
the property Lake Elsinore got sold to some company that did the brick manufacturing. All told, all net after probate and everything, each person was receiving money for each kid, $40,000.
Out of that whole pie, they only got 40?
The whole 1.5 million assessed.
Okay.
Because they have to sell off and pay the probate tax and everything. They basically sold it for pennies.
One thing I want to make clear. So let's say there's 3 kids, direct descendants from the parents, and the parents die. And one of the children is dead, and they have 2 kids. Okay? One thing you have to understand is, I don't want to flip you guys off, but so there's an equal 3-way split. One child gets a third, the other child gets a third, and the 2 kids have to split a third. That's how that works. It doesn't get split 4 ways. So just know that. When you're sitting with a homeowner, it's important to know these things, because if you don't, it's those little things that plant seeds of doubt that you don't know what you're talking about. That's why these classes are so important to internalize. Know the facts. Understand. I mean, the reason we need to know this is not because it's so important in flipping. It's because when you sit with a homeowner, you need to know what you're talking about. And, when you see me sit with a homeowner, that's why it goes so well. It's because, boom, fact, fact, fact. And people go, really? Yes?
So let's say the third that goes to the deceased child, and then it now is split between their children. Is that automatic, or is that like written in trust somewhere? Does it have to
Well, the trust could nullify that completely. The trust can determine a lot of things. The trust can say those kids don't get any money until they're in their 30s.
So would that happen if there wasn't a trust?
Yes. If it's just probate, that's how it's going to work. If there's a will, it might help, but it still goes through probate. Understand that probate is actually not terribly expensive, but I will say this, just for the guy to get the conservatorship, $20,000 out of the estate. $20,000. And I said, well, can we create a trust through this process, through the conservatorship? He said, maybe. Maybe. So might be able to avoid probate that way, because now she's 96 and she's got dementia. How does she know what she wants to do in a trust? So what? Her son's going to determine what the nephew gets? That could get sticky, and they'd probably sue. He's already suing the father, or he's suing the estate from his father because he got cut out of some things. That's why that trust is so important, because it gives instructions on how the money is to be divided. Yeah. Loss mitigation. Is that where you worked? Was it loss mitigation department? Sort of? Okay, these are shrinking. They were huge. There was a time when a loss mitigation department for a chase had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees. Now they're down to just a couple. A division within a bank or financial institution that mitigates or negotiates the losses and handles the process of loan modifications, right, short sales, and things of that nature. So when you want to discuss a loan modification, you always ask for the loss mitigation department. You don't say, where's the loan modification department? Know your terms. Loss mitigation. Okay, as you heard me say, that's what they handle, those 2 things. Once you're in the 30-day window, right up to the auction, they don't have to talk to you, and they won't. Because you might get someone that, so when we know there's an NOD or a notice of sale, okay, it's just like someone stuck a fire right under that homeowner's butt. Because now they got to move. They're not going to get a loan mod. It's too fast. It's too much trouble. The bank's not going to work with them. We know that. They do not have protection under the Homeownership Bill of Rights within 30 days of auction. It's gone. Bank can say, I didn't receive your paperwork. So you're up against the odds. So you have to know, we need our legal department to get involved. The homeowner is going to have to come up with some money. For us to postpone or start a foreclosure or a Chapter 13 type of bankruptcy to postpone it, generally going to cost $1,500 to $2,000 up front. Understand that. Yes?
So if the property's going to sell in a week, and we're we get an offer for a short sale, or we get an offer, try to put in a short sale package.
Yeah.
You think it'll go through, or?
Yeah. I think most banks would actually honor that. They don't have to. You'll get a, when you have they always assign someone to work with you. And so that person's going to kind of be your liaison, and they're going to tell you what's going to happen. But I wouldn't count on it. I'd probably want to try to postpone. In the old days, there's always ways to postpone. It's getting harder and harder. But filing for a bankruptcy will absolutely stop it, but you don't have to go through with a bankruptcy. The other thing that guy is going to talk about is filing a lawsuit against the bank for the MERS fiasco, because they can't come up with the original promissory note.
That's still going on, those lawsuits?
I don't think they win very often, but he'll talk about it. I don't want to steal his thunder. So we know we get a short sale package, a term used. So when you're going to go into a short sale for somebody, you ask for a short sale package from the loss mitigation department. It's an application. Okay, conclude but not listed to the listing agreement, authorization to speak with the lender, okay, on behalf of the homeowner, financial documents, offers, preliminary HUD, or net proceeds statements and BPOs. There's a package. You're going to put your hardship letter in there. They have to provide bank statements, taxes, all the information that the lender's going to require to approve a short sale. Short sale package. So for a loan modification, we're going to have a loan modification package or application, the same for a short sale. Each will have a hardship letter.
What's the difference in the package between the loan mod and the short sale?
Not much, except for, loan mod's not going to require a BPO, right? Depending on the lender, there might be some different disclosures. And I'll show you some of that, but there's a different disclosure with a short sale. Why would a lender accept a short sale? What did I tell you earlier? Costs up to $50,000, right? The average foreclosure process costs the lender $50,000 to $60,000. All right. Who are they going to pass on that expense to? Right? Who gets that expense? Do you think the bank pays that? Well, they could do the deficiency on it. They could add it to that. But really, who's paying for that? An investor. There's an investor behind the banks. The banks don't hold their own paper. Usually only 5% of their portfolio is actually notes. So that means some investors taking a hit. People don't realize it could be a church. When you get into the business in the future of maybe looking at buying notes, you'll get to see that normal people buy notes. Individuals. Sometimes it's companies, sometimes these are packaged in retirement plans where people buy. Like you can go in, you can actually buy non-performing notes. And so now you have to foreclose on a homeowner. You own their paper. And you can do a loan modification with that to get them up and running. Yeah. That's a big business right now. It's hard to get them at they're only like 20% off. There was a time when they were 50% off for non-performing. So now you can only get these non-performing notes, so someone's not paying at 20% off. It's not worth it. You want to buy those at 50% off because they can be a headache. All right. So the lender can cut the losses instead of paying that by accepting a short sale. Especially if they know the property's in bad condition, they're probably not going to get their money anyway. If a property's if a property's in really good shape, never know. Because really, who has to accept this? Some investor must be behind the bank. All right. What do all banks have? Investors. Most financial institutions with a lot of money have some type of investor backing them, right? High numbers of foreclosures look bad to the investors. This can hurt their bottom lines and affect their stock prices, can affect their relationship with the FDIC. Because of the implementation of HAFA and other programs, many lenders are now required by law to consider a short sale. They still do. They still have to, by law, they have to consider it. If a lender has to foreclose and take possession of the property, the time it takes for them to foreclose many times means the property is losing value. Is that true in this market? No. That was true before. It is true in some parts of the country. It's starting to dip a little bit. So we have to keep an eye on it. Midwest is having a little bit of a problem. So I have an investor I spoke to prior on my way here. Last year's property appraised right around 210. It appraised this last week for 189. Some of that has to do with the comps in the area, but why would it be going down? Remember, banks are in the business of lending money and using arbitrage to make money, meaning giving people or bringing in, offering low interest rates and taking that money and investing at a higher interest rate. Okay, but they're not in the business of owning property or acting as property managers, which they've had to do over the years. How about a seller? Why would they consider a short sale? Okay. Credit? Why else? So credit, stress, avoid being kicked out by the sheriff. So usually around 50 points versus a foreclosure, which will be more. Remember, the late payments are what truly affect the credit score. Just a short sale in general is not going to hurt them too bad. Now, it will affect their ability to get financing for a couple of years. But 50 points I would take.
How soon can they get financing after a foreclosure? 7, 6?
3 years FHA.
3 years.
Yeah. But a lot of these people have filed Chapter 13. They can't get it until 3 years beyond when the bankruptcy is cleared after they've made back all their payments. So 3 to 5 years. Yeah. Most are taking the 5 years because so they can afford it. The late payments that typically have the largest impact on the seller's credit score range from 30 points or more for each late payment. Each late payment. So what we have to tell these people is, I know your person told you to not pay your mortgage to get the loan mod. Every time you do that, your credit score is dropping 30 points. And if any of you in here have ever had your credit hurt, it's no fun trying to get financing for something. Or the humiliation of applying for a credit card, or going to the Home Depot and them offering you 10% discount, and you apply and they go, oh man, you don't qualify. That's in front of other people. It's humiliating. Or knowing that the only credit card remember, credit cards will give money to college kids. And if they won't give money to you, that says a lot, because that's a trap, right? If the only credit card you can get is secured, that you put up the money for it, you're in trouble. You need to start fixing things. Probably time for credit repair. All right. You see that? That's the difference. We need to educate people on the difference. But a lot of people get in this, they're complacent with horrible credit, horrible living conditions. I mean, Sal, the lady we went and talked to, Laura, completely trapped, going through a divorce, husband's paying the mortgage, the divorce is lasting forever, the house is falling apart, and somehow that's okay. And you're just like, wait a second, it's time to make a change. It's time to take that next step. You can't. I mean, when the house is falling down, are you going to be okay with this? But people get complacent. They're okay with that lifestyle. Same with the people we met with yesterday. That house, to me, is rough. And they're like, oh, we could just stay here. And you're like,
They want to do something.
do they? You talked to them today? Oh, awesome. Very good. All right. There isn't a reporting item on their credit report specific to a short sale. We need to know that. There is nothing on a credit report that states short sale. Now, can it say settled for less than owed? Yes. But there's no term short sale. It just says debt settled for less than owed. So Chase can have a credit card, debt settled for less than owed. Chase can have a loan, debt settled for less than owed. It's not that bad. Charge off, right? In some cases, a bankruptcy or foreclosure can be grounds for termination in some jobs. Not so with short sales. People need to understand, you get foreclosed on depending on the type of job you're in. Let's say you're an accountant. You're going through foreclosure. What does that say about you with regards to money? Right? You handle money in any type of career, that could hurt you. How about when we go to get our real estate license? You think that might hurt us? If you got bankruptcies and foreclosures, it could. Insurance licenses, maybe. Who knows? Financial advising, absolutely. FINRA, the governing body, will absolutely look at those types of things. You want to get a securities license? You have to actually, anyway, and also can affect future employment. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Imagine you're applying, I'm your property manager, and I'm looking at your credit score, and I see, charge off, foreclosure, bankruptcy. Do I want to trust this person with money? I mean, that's common sense. And we've all, but look, a lot of people have been through it. I get it. But you have to look at it from the person that's going to give you their property to live in, knowing that you don't pay your bills. So expect to pay a double deposit and things like that.
We had a potential, like a lady who applied, like, I don't understand why she's okay with us running her credit, but she had a bankruptcy and she had, I think, 21 inquiries. And it's just all kinds of stuff. Like, how do you get that many inquiries? 20? It was
Yeah.
more than 20.
Average person has 3 a year, 2 to 3 a year. Credit inquiries, that's a lot.
Trying to get a car, stuff like that.
Car, credit card, any way to get money, probably. I need to pay the bill. Right, 2-year Fannie Mae timeline to buy a home with a lender with a short sale, 5 years with a foreclosure. All right, that's conventionally. FHA's more lenient. So you need to know those, though, right? You need to know the terms. What if you want to buy a house again? You're going to be a renter the rest of your life? Remember, these people are at the end of their wits. They're like, I don't care. You got to snap them out of it. You do care. Take it from me, right? You do care. Sometimes you got to take them by the hand and be forceful. You're not going to do this. You're going to short sell your house. It's the right thing to do. With Tom yesterday, Tom, you need to sell your house. He was talking about staying there. I'm like, no. There is no staying here. You can't. He goes, well, do you think you could help me get the sewer and all that working? No. We're going to sell your property. You can't be there. No one's going to lend money on this thing until you're out. All right. It's typical for the lender to give up the right to pursue the deficiency judgment against the borrower, meaning they're not going to come after you in most cases. But they can, and people need to understand that. The lender has the right to pursue the deficiency judgment and it should be in all foreclosures. All right, choices. Bankruptcy. Foreclosure. Loan modification. Forbearance, where they add the payments to the back of the loan. It's usually for a temporary period of time due to a loss of income or health issue. There's a special FHA forbearance and there's a standard forbearance. Deed in lieu. So when you're sitting down with a homeowner, you want to be able to list these things off. Short sale. So how many do we have? Do we have any others?
That's deed in lieu.
Deed in lieu. Okay.
What's forbearance again?
It's where the payments get added to the back of the loan, and they give you a temporary period to get back on your feet.
How long?
Usually 3 months. You don't see forbearances very often. Car notes, or the people who do your financing for your car, they'll do the same thing. Credit cards will do the same thing. Usually they'll give you 1 or 2 late payments and say, yeah, we'll just add it to the back or something like that.
I did it with my student loan.
Yeah. That's basically a forbearance. They're doing a forbearance agreement. Also, you're not late on a credit report until you're 30 days. So if you're late on a credit card or a payment and your payment for a car was due on the 3rd and it's not till you're paying on the 15th, they're going to charge you a late fee because they're entitled to do that, but you're not getting a 30-day. It's not going to affect your credit. You guys understand that, right? It never affects your credit until you're 30, 60, and 90 days. If you look at a credit report, 30, 60, 90. right? So you have to understand they're going to charge you a fee, it's usually $25, but it's not going to affect your credit. What can delay a short sale from getting approved? Mortgage insurance company approval. We learned that. So one of our fact-finding questions when we're sitting down with someone, do you pay PMI or MIP? Mortgage insurance. If there's other lenders, other loans, other liens against the property. What if you run a prelim and there's child support? Other encumbrances on the property. Lack of documentation, garbage in, garbage out. Now, the lender will always say they lost the paperwork. I've seen people have to turn this stuff in 7, 8 times. It's really frustrating because something gets lost. That's why it's always important to keep digital copies. Oh, here, I just emailed it to you right away. You're set. Lack of experience on behalf of the agent involved in the short sale. This can really hurt things. If you're dealing with someone who doesn't know how to negotiate this, hire a negotiator. That's why I wanted to put one on staff. So we have that in our hip pocket, someone who knows what they're doing. I haven't figured out if we get paid on it yet, but if we can't, if there's a possibility, we'll work that out. That's the one aspect of that I'm not sure that we can get paid on. Right? Investor approval. Who's the investor?
The person whose money the bank is using.
Right. So the bank is kind of like the property management company. They're servicing the loan, most cases. Right? But there's an investor behind that has to approve it. And the bank they'll have that discussion. Hey, what do you think? We drove by the property, it's in bad shape. All right, let it go. How about if the homeowner takes all the cabinets out and destroys and pours concrete down the toilet? Have you guys seen that happen before? I have. Have you? Yeah. Is there any recourse?
I think so.
I've never seen it happen.
Yeah, how can they prove who did it?
Yeah, how do you know it wasn't vandals that came in after they left? Yeah, the vandals took all your cabinets. They really wanted to use those things. You'd be surprised.
What tax is this? Because we don't want to move away from expensive, valuable copper.
I don't know, yeah. Copper was always getting stolen, right? So you'd make a few bucks on the recycler. Water heaters were always disappearing. One day, do you guys ever remember me telling you the story about the guy that was putting up wiring in the attic and he looks up and the whole thing's charred? It was on 60th Street in LA. I remember we bought this duplex. It's an attached duplex. And we get there, one water heater is on a dolly going one way, and the other water heater was going another way. Two guys stealing, because there was 2 water heaters, duplex. Same time, 11 a.m. Choo, choo, hey, get back here. This took off. I wasn't going to chase them. I was like, you're going to put new ones in anyway. But they would go take those to these secondhand appliance places, get $50, and then those guys would turn around, make it work again, and sell for $150. A lot of times when I was flipping, I'd go there, buy a water heater for $150 and put it in my house. Because a normal water heater is $400 to $500, plus I got to pay to install it. It's smart. I was probably buying my own water heater. All right, that's why in the old days we wouldn't put in a water heater until the very time we were going to sell the property. All right. Typical process. Agents will speak to homeowner to discuss and qualify for a short sale, gather financial documentation. You need to be there to help collect this documentation. List the property until an offer is made or accepted, right? So you list the property. A lot of times you do it at a low ball rate. Your phone will explode if you're an agent. Goes bonkers. What kind of word is bonkers? That's pretty, that is Donald Trumpish. That is. Submit short sale package with listing agreement and offer along with paperwork required by the lender, which will have a hardship letter in there. Many times have to send documents more than once. Why? What did we just learn? The bank will lose them. The people working there don't necessarily care. Well, would you look at this guy? Oh, shucks. Mr. John 2 Cooper. That's always interesting to come at the end of the meeting. That's all right. Planes, trains, and automobiles. All right. So a negotiator or processor will get assigned. That is your point person at the bank that you're going to talk to. Now, I would advise you, hire a short sale negotiator. Let them be the pit bull. They know the laws, and they know what the bank should be doing. If you're an agent or you're trying to, you can negotiate a short sale for anybody. You don't have to be anything. I just wouldn't advise it. Your time should be out finding more deals, not negotiating a short sale or a loan mod. Then the order, the BPO. What's the BPO, George? What do you think? Broker's price opinion. Very good. Okay. File review, gets submitted to investor for approval. Who's the investor, Sal?
No,
Hopefully you in the future. Who's the investor?
the person that owns that for the bank. You know, the bank has the people that oversees or is over that bank. That's who the bank has to talk to.
Right.
The loan.
So there's money behind the bank. The investor is the person that they have to get the approval from.
Right.
Most people don't know that. Okay. You understand most of these banks hire a servicing company to service this whole process. There's all kinds of them. Once approved, goes to closing. Then the person has to figure out if they have a deficiency judgment against them for the difference. More times than not, I would say 9 times out of 10 at least, you're never going to see that. Could that change? Absolutely. We just don't see it now. Some things to know. Buyer should put very little money down until offer is approved by the lender. How long do you think a short sale can take?
Not sure.
It's not short. It's the opposite of short. It's actually usually pretty long, depending on how good your negotiator is and the person in charge at the bank. Remember, they have to get approval from somebody. You know, sometimes that doesn't happen quickly. I think the process has been sped up because we don't have the whole foreclosure mess, but there's also less people hired to deal with this stuff. So what I always advise is I've put down as little as $100. I will put up $1,000. Realtors will try to get you to put up 3%. That money sits there for 6 months, sometimes a year. No. We do not do that. We put as little money down as possible. Try to put $500. And I'll tell the agent, I'm only going to put $500. Once it gets approved, I'll put the other. But I'm not going to leave my money there for 6 months. That doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't be smart. Seller still owns the property and has full legal authority to sell the property. The owner of the property, the person who's behind on their payments, still has the right to choose what they want to do with the property. Some people get this confused. They think that, oh, the bank owns the property now. That's not true. The bank doesn't have anything to do with it. They're just going to approve or disapprove of it. If they don't come in, look at, they're not going to take control. It's much different than a foreclosure. The seller is in full control. Agents work for the buyer and seller, not the bank. So this is the part we got to get out of our heads. The banks don't have any, they just have to approve a number. That's it. Now, if they don't approve it, now we have problems, especially if they're not paying their mortgage. Then it will probably go to foreclosure. Can we stop that? Yes. We either do a loan modification, and that puts that property on review. The bank cannot foreclose while it's in review. If they decline it, we do an appeal. Extends it another 3 months usually. So we can keep a homeowner there for at least usually 8 to 9 months without them having to spend money sometimes. And if they're already behind, it's not like they're going to come up with a lump sum to catch up usually, unless they're playing games. In the old days, people were doing strategic defaults, and they were playing games because their neighbor, caught a principal reduction or got a really good interest rate, and they're like, well, I want that interest rate if you're going to get it. Man, I have good credit, everything. I want what you got. Right? So they do these strategic, situations where they stop paying their mortgage just to try to get the interest rate down. Strategic default was the term. Let me go buy another house and then let this go. Because this one has no equity and this one is cheap. They do a strategic default. Let me make that clear. So they would go buy another house, buy that house, and completely let that go to foreclosure. jacks up their credit, but they already bought their house, so now they just have to wait for that to come back. People did that. HAFA, Homeowner Affordable Foreclosure Alternative Program, which is part of HAMP. Still available. There's still programs. It's called Flex now. It's kind of under the same circumstances. You'll see the California, Keep Your Home California. It's under that same program. The goal of HAMP modification is to reduce your monthly mortgage payments to 31% of your gross pre-tax monthly income. So if your mortgage payment is 50% of your gross income, monthly income, they'll try to get it reduced to 31. So you just have to so you have to understand the rules. So when you're sitting there and you go, remember, I know you want a really low interest rate or low payment, but it's only going to go to 31% of your gross monthly income if you qualify. Most people in these situations actually do not qualify. Do modifications permanently affect your mortgage note? Are they permanent?
Yes.
So if you see someone, you go and you sit down to or next to them and they say, yeah, I'm paying a 2% interest rate on my mortgage. I don't want to lose that. You think that's permanent?
Usually it steps up.
Usually it steps up. Usually it's a Band-Aid, and usually it's not permanent. Sometimes, fortunately, people are able to get a permanent status on their loan modification and a principal reduction at times. You know, that agent I was just talking to, she helped someone get a $40,000 principal reduction. That's a lot better than the bank losing 50, 60 grand foreclosing. Right? So they talk the investor, hey, drop this down. This person will keep the house. You know, they'd look at their maybe their credit score before, but they'll look at people's files and go, okay, is this a good bet? You know, they'll do that for certain people. The lady that teaches the NMLS classes, our Tricia here, she was able to get principal reductions for people because she did loan mods before on investment properties. It's unheard of. She's really good at that. Lenders are required to approve a short sale process within 10 days. Not the short sale itself, the process. Okay? Bless you. Now, as far as an offer, I would assume that they would probably, if we come in with an offer, they probably need to have an approval pretty quickly too. All right, buying short sales. Always try to buy from who? The listing agent. Why? They want to double end it. Usually they'll have someone else. Now the lenders a lot of times will drop the commission down to what, 3%? But if it's 5%, what they'll do is just get someone else in their office to represent. Sneaky. Banks are pretty smart. They probably know that's going on. And they just work out a deal where, you know, you get to keep a few $100, but now we're getting 5%. Maybe you keep 1%, I'll keep 4% for just being a part of this. You can go in high and negotiate down. Remember, we can always go in on a short sale and come in at asking, and through the process, and I'll show you this after, what we need to do to negotiate that down. So like for you guys, do you have one right now? You know, the person in your office isn't able to get the prices down. There's a reason for that. You have to go the extra mile to do that. Try not to put a big down payment, right, until we have approval. You need to know that. If someone tries to get you to put 3% down, say, no way, Jose. Sometimes better to put in your personal name. Why?
So they don't see it's a flipper.
Yeah, they don't like flippers. For whatever reason, these days, they do not like flippers. So a lot of times, they want you to put it in your personal name. Matter of fact, I would highly advise you go in with your personal, add your company as an additional buyer, and then deed off for tax purposes. Understand that the banks have become savvy to investors, and we need to outsmart them. It's changed. It used to be, I could negotiate a price on a short sale, go back, say, oh, this property needs new everything, and negotiate the price even $40,000, $50,000 lower. Those days are over. Most houses that we would buy as a short sale have issues, some obvious and some not so obvious, so we need to know that. Most short sales have a non-assignment clause in the contract. What's that mean? We cannot wholesale. There's a non-assignment clause. Don't shake the tree. You can get around it. Right? We can wholesale short sales. Absolutely. They come with some sort of their own paperwork as well, right? Looks like this. This is Bank of America, short sale purchase contract addendum. They have their own set of paperwork that you have to fill out. Normally, we just have an RPA, residential purchase agreement, and traditional disclosures. They have their own paperwork, and you have to really be careful because they'll make you hold on to it for 30 days before you can transfer title. So even if you don't shake the tree, you got to stay on for a while. Any of you that took the wholesaling class, the Don't Shake Your Tree is one of our ways to get around these rules. Understand you're swimming in a sea of sharks, especially with short sales. A lot of money flying around. So I'm going to let you guys read this. All right, dear homeowner. Your home near blank. Our records indicate your home is scheduled to be auctioned off very soon within the next 3 weeks. If you reinstate your loan, I am happy for you. Congratulations! If you cannot reinstate your loan, here are some free options for you. Pretend to do a short sale to a fictitious buyer.
Whoa.
Bank will postpone the auction date until they review our short sale offer, but they need about 5 business days to order a BPO, so don't wait until the last day. Once they postpone the sale, you can then reinstate or look into option 2 or 3. Option 2, controlled short sale. This is where a friend or family member rebuys your home at today's prices. Often you can rebuy your home at 50 to 60% of what is owed. You and I control which buyer's offer is shown to the bank. Option 3, short sale to investor. We work with investors looking to buy homes with you remaining as the renter. Some investors will even agree to resell you the home as soon as you can requalify. It is not too late. I have submitted short sale packages as late as 3 business days before the auction, have gotten the auction postponed and the short sale approved. Do not let the bank take your home. All of these options are free to you, and you get time in the house. Call today for a free consultation to discuss your options. I look forward to hearing from you and helping you soon. Broker owner from a real estate company. Right? You're going to be selling behind bars. These people actually
Jelly and syrup.
did time. We never want to be investigated.
Okay, so they
Yeah. U.S. Attorney, well here, June 15, 2012, 3 arrested in Los Angeles and Orange County for fraud involving short sale real estate transactions. Alleging they defrauded homeowners, financial institutions, and real estate investors in schemes that targeted the distressed homeowner market and allegedly caused more than $10 million in losses. According to the court documents, the defendants used a variety of schemes, at least of 2, which centered on fraudulent short sale approval letters purportedly issued by the bank. Many of the properties utilized in the schemes were distressed homes. In some cases, the defendants claimed to have insiders working at the bank who, in exchange for cash, which is true, I know for a fact, I saw it happen, would authorize short sales for far less than for fair market. This allowed the defendants to flip the house for a significant profit. I know for a fact this was happening. I want to be a part of the deal. Make sure I get my 5 to 10 grand. All insider. Anywhere where money is involved, expect fraud. All right. So I want to show you, the question you guys are going to have is, okay, well, how do I get the price down? How do you do that, Sam? Let me get out of the PowerPoint. All right, so one of the things you want to do and show a bank is a contractor's bid. And if you look at this, this is on this address. Demolition, demo. Let me go up to where we can view one page at a time. Let's see if I can expand. Okay, I want you to look at this. Pour 6-inch step at rear master bedroom for no crack fill and cement overlay driveway carpet. Replace block top caps at front enclosure as needed. Frame in new expanded bathroom according to plans. According to plans. Frame in proper posts and beams, blah, blah, blah. Frame in wall. So this is basically what we're doing to flip a house, right? Install HVAC system. Plumbing, properly strap in existing water. Install new water and gas lines for kitchen, baths, and laundry. Install new drain lines, vents for new fixtures, appliances, kitchen. So what am I showing them here? Install recessed lights. Install new exhaust vents. Install lights in rear bedroom. What am I telling the bank I'm doing? I'm flipping it. It's pretty clear. So if I go through this, let's see, do we have the total price? The sum of $82,875. A bank's going to look at that and go, nah, right? You're not getting that. So what could I do different? What did I have to learn? In the old days, this worked. We would get that price reduction, 75, 80 grand. It would work because that's how much work it needed. We're going to flip the house. The bank didn't care. And then the bank started declining. You're like, what the heck? Okay. A change order, right? We know what a change order is? All right. Here's the draw schedule. 1,000 to start, 12,000 to finish part 1, blah, blah, blah. Keeps going. 12, 12, 12. All right. So this used to work. All you would need to do in a short sale is you'd give a bid from a contractor, and the bank would do that. And all of a sudden, we started noticing that the banks were not approving these. And so most people are still doing this. They still think that this is the way to get the price drop. You can't. Banks that are offering short sales do not want flippers involved. What do you think I would need to change?
You're not a flipper.
How could I do that? It is under my name. All right, first I could buy it in my name. Instead of the company.
Instead of saying demo, say install. Like to imply that it's missing instead of
Okay.
demoing it and then redoing it.
Well, let's see if it was here. Was there any of that language in this one? Oh, there is install. Install new, install new, install new. Install new granite counters. Do you think the bank cares what kind of the counters are in the property? Okay, so
Just say renovate the existing, or instead of new things. Say.
here, look at this language. This is the key. Repair or replace. Never install. Repair or replace. Everything is about repairing and replacing. Can I paint? Yes. Replace flooring in kitchen and bathroom and laundry. Basic repair. So I had to go back over a contractor's bid and completely rewrite it so that it spoke the language that the bank would accept. All they care about is that language. You know who told me that? An asset manager. Sam, you're doing it wrong. Because I kept going, hey, I'm not getting these deals. What's going on? You used to work. You need to change your language. Has to say repair or replace. So the whole thing, replace, replace, replace. Everything is. Paint exterior house, carport cover, paint iron fencing, replace kitchen and bathroom cabinets.
You're not specific, like putting granite.
Guess what? The bid's the same.
What?
They don't know how much rehab costs. That's how you get a price trap. The next thing we do, I don't know if I did it here. So look, the payment schedule changed.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if I show what I did, but I actually go through and create, I don't have it here. I actually go through and I take pictures of things that are broken, almost like a property inspection. And I submit that with this, and I have arrows that go to this that show this is illegal. because I know code enough to where I can do that. And so I can go into a property and point out all the things that aren't up to code, from the arc fault breakers to the windows not meeting egress requirements. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll go in the attic and I'll go underneath the house. Guess what I always find underneath the house on the raised foundation? Termite damage, and what else? Foundation issues. There's always a crack in some type of seal plate. There's always a crack in one of the, if you go into California, any house that's 50 years old or more will always have cracks. So all you do is take a picture of that crack. You could literally take, if you want to be unethical, you could take a picture of, you can use the same picture over and over. And it gets, it gets nasty. And you show your pinky in there. They're never going to send someone under that house. They're never going to send someone under the house. You know that. They're just not. That's not what banks are set up to do. That's how you get your price reduction. Now, I happen to have the ability, through our friend Darren, to write up a foundation report, foundation repair report, and submit it with.
Is that a new thing?
No, I've been doing that for years with him. As soon as he started that company, I was like, hey, I need to borrow this. He doesn't care. If it needed the work, he'd get it. You know, if it was a small job. Right? Okay, so what are those two ways that I'm getting the price down?
Changing the language.
I submit a bid with my offer, one with substantial work, changing the language from install new to repair and replace. I'm also submitting pictures with arrows saying this isn't up to code. I'm looking for three major things: foundation issues, illegal additions, mold. Let me repeat that. Foundation issues, illegal additions, and mold. If I can find all three of those things on one property, I'm going to get such a great discount. Foundation issues, nobody knows how expensive they are. I can dictate what that's going to cost, because it varies across the spectrum of whoever's doing the work.
But that's only if you get in from the bank. When you get in from the bank, correct?
I mean, you could probably, I mean, the bank's never going to go check.
Right.
If you have a homeowner, they may hire and get a second opinion. Yeah. They'll do that with foundation work all the time. I'm going to get a second opinion. This guy might have the inside. Yep.
Sidebar, but, have you heard of rapid mold removal? You spray it on. I don't know.
I don't know how legit it is. I think I've heard of it, but I don't know how legit rapid mold removal would be. I wouldn't trust that. You know, if there is, what I've done is I'll hire my guys to go in and clear out that mold wearing their own little white suits, but they're not the hazmat team.
Yeah, I just saw they have it on social media.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's something you've heard about.
I hadn't heard about that. But yeah, you just want to get it out of there. Most mold that's you see in a bathroom and stuff isn't harmful. The mold we saw over at Tom's is absolutely harmful. If it glows in the dark, it's got problems.
Radioactive.
It's radioactive, that's right. And yeah, you don't want to breathe in those pores, or whatever they're called. All right. So this is how we get a price reduction on a short sale. This is the magic that nobody else knows, as far as I know. The competition doesn't know how to do this. It does require you to go under a house. Or you can hire an inspector to do it our guy will do it for $250 and take all the pictures for you.
What's the percentage that you can lower the short sale? 75%?
Usually 50 grand on average. Sometimes more, depending. If you have the three no-nos, the mold, the illegal addition, and the foundation, up to 100. And that'll get you, that's enough for it to be a deal.
There's another trick I heard an investor do, which is on the gray area of ethics, but you deal with somebody who just needs to get out and over with it, so you pay them cash for keys, with the agreement that you let them, they allow you to disassemble like a bathroom, or just open up drywall and expose studs, and just make the house look a lot worse than it is. So you have a nice new bathroom, take out the whole vanity, take out the mirrors, you take out everything apart, and you get the BPO,
Put it in the
and then you
garage.
put it right back together.
Should I be honest about this? I've actually delivered a sledgehammer and said, well, they weren't living there anymore, and say, because the bank wasn't willing to negotiate, wasn't working with them. They did after that.
Add that to your fourth.
Disassembling the bathroom is interesting, though. So yeah, you take it apart, take out the toilet, holes. Remember, if there's holes in drywall, you can't get an FHA loan. Right? So you have to know, if you know the lending rules, just little things you can do to, and then I'd like spray some black moldy paint looking stuff in there.
Let's come up with that product.
I mean, theoretically, you could stage it to where all these things are wrong.
It's like a Halloween project.
Yeah, you go up in the attic and show cut wires and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
The homeowner's got to cool with 5 or 10 grand.
dead rats up there. All right, the homeowner has to
They
be.
got to be cool. They can't be too savvy. They're not like, come on, cut me.
Yeah, but I don't know how much you want to get a homeowner involved in that process, but yeah.
You just say you're gonna be out, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Short sale your home.
All right. So, are there any questions